I should say, when I did the 30th, I have to tell you this, that I skied through the finish gate and one of the volunteers, an older gentleman, gave me my pin and I said to him, well, I think that's good. I've had enough. And he said to me, well, they all say that. And then as I skied away, he said, I'll see you next year. And I thought, he's got me. There's no way out of this. I came back.
Welcome to the Birch Legacies podcast. We are sharing stories celebrating the motivation, the perseverance, and the lifestyle choices necessary to reach the status of Birch Legger. That is, skiers who have completed 20 or more Birkies, Quartalopets, or a combination of both. We would love to hear from Birch Leggers young and old who have a story to tell about what keeps them coming back year after year. Information about appearing on this podcast is in the podcast notes. Hi, folks, and welcome back to Birch Legacies. We are back for, I'm going to call this Season 2, Episode 1, because it is now the fall of 2025, and kind of took the summer off, but I have a great guest to start the new season off, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Ian Duncan is here today, and the name is really familiar to me because I've seen his name on a lot of start sheets and finish sheets ahead of mine. And I really enjoy the fact that he signed up, and I encourage all of you listening to do the same, to be on the podcast, because on our the links that we have in the podcast notes will allow you to fill out a little form and lets me know that you're out there and that you'd like to be on the podcast. And as we get going in the new ski season, I'm sure lots of you will have some good stories to tell. So without further ado, welcome Ian, and why don't you just kind of introduce yourself to the folks?
Yes, hi John. It's a great pleasure to be with you today and talk about the Birkie and everything I know about it and have experienced. Although I live in Madison, Wisconsin, I'm actually, you can tell from the accent, probably I'm not from here.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and grew up in Scotland, the west coast of Scotland, and moved when I was doing a postdoc to McGill University in Montreal a number of years ago.
Okay, so you didn't have much skiing in your youth, then I would guess.
No, none. None until when I'm doing my a PhD, and I can give you more about my background. When I was doing a PhD at Glasgow University, some friends were downhill skiers, and I went downhill skiing with them in the snow and ice of Glencoe. It was fierce, hard. No cross-country skiing.
Yeah.
Cross-country skiing started when I moved to Montreal. Maybe I should say something about my background in education, so you know what I've done for a living in my life. So I went to a boarding school in Edinburgh, Scotland, severe environment, and then after I got out of there, I went to university in Glasgow, the Glasgow University Veterinary School, qualified there, then did a PhD in experimental neuropathology, postdoc there for a couple of years, and decided I have to get out of Glasgow. So I was very fortunate to get an Canadian MS Society Fellowship to McGill University, Montreal, Department of Neurology, where my boss was an Argentinian neurologist, neuroscientist, Alberto Aguayo, who went on to become president of the Society for Neuroscience, a towering figure in neuroscience research. And he really sharpened my skills. And then I decided, well, I got a faculty position there, an adjunct faculty position, but I thought, no, this isn't the long term. Probably have to get back to veterinary medicine in some shape or form. So in 1982, the University of Wisconsin School of Veterinary Medicine was opening. I got a faculty position there. I did do veterinary medicine for a number of years, but eventually research was my primary goal in life. And I sort of transferred from doing teaching and clinical work into doing pure neuroscience research. And I've basically done that for the last 30 years.
Wow. So you were a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison then in that field?
Yes. I was. I retired a couple of years ago, but I'm still carrying on research.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty motivated and still very much involved. I don't know when I'll manage to give it up, if at all, but I'm still doing stuff at a fairly high level. My field is in repair of the brain and people with myelin disease, children, genetic disease, and adults with MS. I've still got some good ideas and we're still publishing at a high level. So long may that continue.
Yeah, that's great. And it's such important work. And I'm sure everyone listening knows someone or is close to someone who suffers from the effects of MS and the other related disorders. So thank you for your work. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's quite the story. I mean, you don't often see people who grew up in a boarding school in Edinburgh, Scotland, probably on the Birkie starting line. So
Right.
that's cool. I mean, that's
Yeah.
one reason I wanted to do this podcast in the first place. I knew there were tons of cool stories out there, and how people got to the starting line. It's so variable, and I
Yeah.
appreciate your
Yeah.
sharing. So yes, your career has been deep in academia and also research and publishing and all that kind of thing. And so, how did you find the time to get out and do the training necessary to be a skier?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, you have to be well organized. First of all, you have to want to do it. You have to be
Yeah,
motivated, and you have to make sure that you set aside a plan or a time. It's actually, I think, almost easier to do it than when you're retired, when you've got all the time in the world, and you go, well, I'll do it in the afternoon.
yeah,
And the afternoon comes, oh, I should have done it in the morning.
yep.
When you're working, you set aside time and you just do it during those hours. So it works out, but
Hmm.
you really have to be motivated. That's the thing that in the long term maybe becomes more and more difficult.
Yeah, just kind of find that time. Not only it didn't even say anything about family, so you're trying to build your time around family time and the requirements there, and your work and career and so on. So yeah, finding that time, you need to be committed to do it. And
Right?
did you find that time to be, afternoons, or were you an early morning person, or weekend warrior?
Good question. Probably in skiing, it was a mix, but probably more in the afternoon.
So did you do other sports? Did you grow up as in athletics, in sports in your home?
Yeah, we played rugby at school, classical Scottish education.
Yeah.
I was cross country runner and grew up playing golf, not a really aerobic sport, but it was mainly cross country running. And when I moved to Montreal in wherever it was, the late mid 70s, the opportunity to cross country ski came up, and I tried it out. We lived near Montreal in Montreal. You could ski there. And then as I got more involved, we moved up to the Laurentian Hills north of Montreal. That's where the trails of Jack Rabbit Johansson,
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
many of the ski trails. So started skiing there, got involved in racing at a very elementary level.
Hmm.
We had two axes of those days, Jack Rabbit, dry and wet snow. That was it
Okay.
for racing. And then got involved in the Canadian Ski Marathon, which I did many years,
Okay.
the 2-day event. And then did a couple of races there, Rivière Rouge, which was ahead of the Gatineau,
Yeah.
and then moved to Madison and kept it going.
So did you do, I was looking at your bio, and you've done some Canadian Birkies. Did you do the Canadian one first or the American one
Oh
first?
no, no, no. No, I did. It was the American one first. So I've done 39 Birkies. You
Wow.
didn't ask, but I suppose you want to know that. And at some stage, well, actually, you can tell it was in the 2010s. I went to Norway to ski the Norwegian Birkie, which I'd done 3 times,
Okay.
and then did the Canadian Birkie. And in part, doing the Canadian Birkie was they give a great award for people who've done all three. The
Right.
Prince Haakon pewter mug. It's a terrific mug.
Okay.
First time I went there, it was frigid and they called it off. The second time I did it, so I've done all three.
So I was going to ask because I've done the Norwegian once in 2016, and um, I heard about the award for all three. Do you need to do them in the same year, or is it just in your
No,
lifetime?
no, 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 no. You could just do them at any
All
time
right.
and submit the information, and you get the award.
Oh, good. Well, that's okay. That goes on my list.
Yes.
I would love to do that. That would be fun. So tell us about you said you've done 39 Birkies, American Birkies. What got you to the line the first time? You were in Madison, and did somebody talk you into it, twist your arm?
No, 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 no need to twist anything.
Okay.
Actually, it was part of the recruitment from Montreal to Madison, not by the faculty who didn't know anything about this, and I didn't admit this
Hmm.
to them. But one of the reasons for coming to Madison was so I could ski the American
Oh,
Birkebeiner.
really? Okay.
And a realtor sent me information about it, and I thought, there you go, that's where I'm going to go and ski the race.
Okay. And so, which year was your first year then? Doing the math, it must have been in the late 70s, early 80s.
1983, I think I moved to here in
Okay.
82. Yeah.
So you've done a lot. I mean, at that number, you must have done almost all of them consecutively since then.
Yes, well, there were because the years that they were called off, and
Right.
then one year I dropped out, and I've hated myself for it. But
Okay.
it was a year of one of those freezing cold years.
Yeah.
I got to Timber Trail, and the volunteer said, "Do you realize that your nose is frozen?" And I looked at him, well, yeah, it was totally white, but I was having all sorts of problems. I made a classical mistake of trying something new. I put
Yeah.
a hand warmer at the back of my glove, which migrated into the palm of my glove and both sides and prevented me from holding the pole correctly.
Oh, sure.
So it was a windy day too. So not only could I not hold the pole correctly, it was flopping about in the wind,
Yeah.
landing in between my legs. And I thought, I'm not really enjoying this. I got to Double O and I said, it was my 31st year. And I thought, this is just no fun. And it has to be fun. You have to be
Yeah.
enjoying.
Yeah.
And I got on the bus and put my head down between my knees and started crying.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. I have been fortunate not to have to pull out of any, but I already, that's in the back of my mind is, what happens? How am I going to be able to accept it? But like you said, a lot of things are going wrong, and with the temperatures and such, it can be actually dangerous, obviously. So,
Right, right.
yeah,
I should
yeah,
say, when I did the 30th, I have to tell you this, that I skied through the finish gate and one of the volunteers, an older gentleman, gave me my pin and I said to him, well, I said, I think that's good. I've had enough.
yeah,
And he said to me, well, they all say that.
yeah,
And then as I skied away, he said, I'll see you next year. And I thought, he's got me. There's no way out of this.
yeah,
And yeah, I came back.
yeah, yeah. It's just kind of the way it is. I don't even know how to quit anymore, So, and I'm sure a lot of listeners can relate to that because it's just like, okay, well, maybe this will be the year I switch over either to the Cordy or I go volunteer. And I'm actually kind of grateful that they have all the different events going on because I can get my volunteering done doing other things like the trail run or at the open track or whatever it is. So I've been able to kind of give back a little bit, but yeah, that is kind of part of. I think again, it's very relatable that story of well, maybe I'm done now, and then not being done.
Yeah, I've been volunteering at the finish line in the Quarterlope, taking skis off.
Yeah.
And I had the pleasure of taking skis off my daughter last year, which was
Oh, cool.
fun.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's neat. And then when the kids get it, now my granddaughter is skiing the Barney Birkie these days. So, and my son skis the Birkie. So we're having a good time now as a family too.
Right.
So the first one, and did you have anything like any stories from the first one? Did it go pretty as predicted? Or you're in great shape already?
Yeah,
Or
like it was more than 39 years ago. What do you remember? Well, I remember two things. First of all, standing at the top of downhills, waiting in the long line of people
yeah.
to go down deep snow plows and actually running through the woods and the trees to get ahead of them.
Oh,
And then the other thing is that the Madison Nordic Ski Club, who I was staying with, had rented the basement of some bar on Highway M near Cable.
yeah.
Concrete floor, not enough padding, freezing cold, and then after the race, washing up in the basin and in the men's room in the bar. And I thought, I'll never do this again. Yeah, so that's my first year memories.
So then, as you go through, were there other ones individually that kind of stand out? And when you've done that many, they don't necessarily stand out individually, but you just told us about the one where you had to drop out. Any other ones that you felt like everything went right or everything went wrong?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I remember discovering Blue Clister
Yeah.
and having fantastic race in Blue Clister. Wonderful kick, wonderful glide. Thought this is the way to go. Then, of
Mhm.
course, you have to take it off.
Yeah.
I remember the year of heavy snow, heavy wet snow, and in fact, my eyelashes froze. And as I got into the feed station, I couldn't see a thing, so I had to get the volunteers to scrape up my eyelashes
Oh,
to take the snow off. And then the other one I remember is the hard year when we were skiing up to the Coliseum. So it was a Hayward cable. And you got there, the music's blaring, you think, I'm at the finish. And then all of a
oh,
sudden you realize they're sending you out into the golf course.
I remember that exactly.
And
That was
oh,
really mean.
that was a long day.
Oh gosh, I remember that one too because it was you told it exactly the same. You were right on the cusp of coming in. They could have turned you in. It would have been a few hundred yards, but instead they sent you around the mountain.
Right.
Yeah, that was frustrating. the feeling at that point, because you were so tired by that time. You were practically done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was because it was kind of an unusual, we didn't do it that way every year. We really didn't know the trail. So you really didn't know what was coming exactly
Right. Right.
as it did that. Yeah. One of the things you talked about your background, your career with in neuroscience, and you did something really cool. As I was reading your notes about this, you've done some really cool things related to your work and that tied it to the Birkie. Would you share that with folks?
Well, I think maybe you're alluding firstly to the involvement in the Skiers for Cures program,
Yep.
which when Ned Zolzoff was the executive director, I knew Ned personally, and I said to him, well, look, here's the thing. I'd like 1 year or for 3 years for the MS Society and Research for MS to be the target. And I said, and on top of that, here's the carrot. I think I might be able to get Bjorn Daehlie to come over and ski the race. I'd met him, I think the first Norwegian race I'd done where I was a guest of the Norwegian Birkie. They were raising money for MS. I met him, I met his parents. His late mother had MS. Father's a wonderful man, and I skied with him a little bit there before the Norwegian Birkie. And I corresponded with him a lot after that and got on really well with him. So Ned said, well, yes, if you can do that.
There you go.
Sure enough, we got through to contacted Bjorn, and after much sort of arm twisting, he agreed to come and do it, and brought his father as well. I'll tell you a little bit more about that because it was just a wonderful, I don't know if you recall the year 2009, I think. I mean, he was an ambassador for MS research, and he was a real gentleman throughout. Everyone loved having him here. He was so kind and personable, met the children, met adults. Those people raised enough money on the Thursday morning. There was about 20 people, the biggest fundraisers, skied with him for a couple of hours on the Birkie Trail. And he just moved back and forward, chatting to everyone, informal ski. And then we went for pizza to Rivers Eatery, where Mick and Beth kindly put on a lunch. He helped us raise a lot of money. He and then Vegard Ulvang, who followed in 2012. He raised over 300,000 for MS research.
Wow, that's amazing. So those are special years. And Vegard Ulvang and Bjorn Daehlie, there's no bigger names
right.
in that, especially in that generation. Those are the big ones. Yeah, that's really cool. And so then you did that, and that was, like I said, Skiers for Cures. So you had a period of time in which that went to MS research.
Yeah, we got a year's extension because I said to Ned, I think I can get Vegard Ulvang to come over this year. Obviously, he and Bjorn are very close, and Bjorn introduced me to him. So Vegard came with his wife, Gretchen Kelmo, who's also a Norwegian Olympic skier and medal winner, and the two children, Rune and Nora, and they all raced different races.
Very
and of course, Vegard had just done the Amundsen Centenary ski across the South Pole, and he gave a great presentation at Hayward High School about the trip. And again, that added a whole new sort of dimension to the course.
Yeah, and then you also said there's a documentary about some of this.
Yeah, so in I think just after or at the time that Bjorn did it, and then when Vegard did it, a Norwegian-American documentary film producer, Steinar Hibertsen, who's also an elite skier and racer in his own right, we got together and he said, I think we could produce a documentary about this whole story, about how MS can be helpful to people with MS. So exercise is important, but for MS patients, exercise in cold weather is much easier than in warm weather for reasons I won't go into. So in fact, many people who have MS are cross-country skiers, both in this country and especially in Norway. So Steinar said, let's make a documentary. And I was sort of, I suppose, co-producer. He was the director. He ran the whole show. But it has both Bjorn and Vegard Ulvang in it, and wonderful scenes of three Americans, three Norwegians training to ski their respective Birkeminers, and them during the course of the race. And it's preceded by the whole story of what is MS medically, scientifically, and how this exercise can help people. I thoroughly recommend. There's a public television documentary. It's called MS, the Vikings, and Nordic Skiing. a very unusual title that catches your attention. You can still find it by Googling it.
So MS, the Vikings, and Nordic skiing. We Google that on YouTube, I suppose. We'd be able
on
to find it.
YouTube and it's Wisconsin Public Television where it's first shown.
Okay. Yeah. And for listeners, I'll also put a link in the podcast show notes for this so that they can easily grab that. Oh, that's really, really fascinating. I want to go back to your, kind of your routines in your family. You mentioned off air that your family likes to ski and the skis the Birkie and so on.
So my older son and daughter, the middle child, and their respective spouses are all into cross-country skiing. They're all very active all year round and becoming very competitive. And three of them did the Birkie this year and were under 3 hours. And my daughter did the Kortloppet, and she was, I think, the top Madison woman and very close to top in their age group. So they're all really good, but they work hard, they train hard.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of their efforts. And
as I said at the top, we're kind of in the fall of 2025 here, and the cool air has just come in here to Minnesota where I am. So we're starting to wear long sleeves and things. What are you doing year round? Are you training year round, or what do you do in the cross training and so on?
I mean, I think that's one of the things is, especially as you get older, you've got to keep it up. If you drop it for any length of time, that is exercise and training, getting back into shape's really hard. Obviously, in the winter, skiing is the number one thing. Summertime, I bike ride, road ride a lot, long distance. I've been going to Europe for several years now to do actually an MS related challenge ride in the Alps, doing the climbs of the Tour.
Okay.
And this summer I was in Italy, not in a separate ride, doing climbs of the Giro in the Dolomites in the Alps, and it was hard.
Oh, I can't imagine. So you're out there doing those climbs I watch them do on the Grand Tour events?
Yeah. Not, funnily enough, not at the same speed, but
well, yeah. I'm assuming not, but I don't know.
Right. Yeah. No. So yeah, I mean, you're doing the climbs. Some of them are extraordinary, but the reward is the downhills.
Yeah.
This year, the Stelvio, the downhill is 27 k's at speed.
Yeah. Although when I see them do that, I just worry about the going off the edge. No, that's fast. So that is, wow, respect for that, man. So you're doing a lot of biking, and it sounds like that's plenty. And then as you ramp into the season here, do you change things? Are you roller skiing anymore these days, or did you ever?
Well, not anymore. I never really did. I didn't like roller skiing particularly. Yeah. So my training in the fall, although this training is diminishing over the years, would be a lot of trail running with poles. Okay. Yeah. I go to the Y here to do some spinning classes, strength classes, and one of the big things I think that everyone should think about is yoga. Yoga is a wonderful form of, I would call it cross training. I mean, it's good. It's certainly when you're young and you're old, it helps your flexibility, your balance, core strength. Thoroughly recommend yoga as something to do on a regular basis.
Yeah, I know a number of people that definitely do that and Pilates. So now when you go up to the Birkie, do you have a place up that way, or what are your arrangements when you go up there to ski or train?
I have a very good friend, Terry Tansey, who lives near Sealy. Mm-hmm. And I stay at Terry's place, and I usually go up 2 or 3 days before the event to start to do a little skiing and get skis ready and things. So I'm quite happy with that. As I say, it just ended up being just the two of us. He's a very avid skier, birchlegger, competitive racer. So I like that. I like that arrangement a lot.
Oh, good. Yeah. The arrangements for people are always a part of the story, I'm sure.
Right.
Any traditions for you and Terry or your family now that they're skiing it as well?
Well, I thought about that question, and I don't think traditions. I mean, we've got ourselves a fairly set pattern of what we do.
Yeah.
And we sort of do it independently. I don't want to get in his way because, as I say, he's been a competitive racer and doing his own thing. So it's fairly much an individual doing things on my own. But, as I say, 2 days before the event, usually, or the day before, now doing open track, I'll go out and skate a bit because I do classic, I stride the open track. And then, of course, the day before is just testing kick wax and things. So that's about it, I think.
Yeah. you did open track this year, you said in
Yeah,
25?
I did it. I started out 3 years ago because I actually got invited to a science meeting in Miami, and it was on the Friday before the
Okay.
Birkie. I thought I can't do that, and I thought, well, the open track. Come on, let's do the open track. But I enjoyed it so much doing the open track on the classic trail. At that stage, there were many fewer doing the open track, so you're skiing on your own.
Yeah.
And it says Vegard Ulvang described when he was here to say his skiing now is he goes for a long ski in the woods,
Yeah.
so with a Norwegian accent, and that's now what I think of the Birkie, and that's
Yeah.
what it was then.
Yeah.
So for me, open track is the way to go. I love that.
Yeah. And it's really, I think it's extended the Birkie life for a lot of people because the crowds and the logistics of getting there is can be one of the negatives. And so especially as people get older, it's just more comfortable to ski at your own pace without someone tripping over you or you tripping over them or having a crowd down a tough hill. So
Right, right. I
yeah.
mean, that's very much the case for me, and
Yeah.
I just the whole hoopla, everyone sort of like packed in the sardines in the Great Hall, uh,
Yeah.
breathing over each other. The whole thing just became too much
Yeah.
claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Get away from me.
It's a great alternative. It's really smart of them to add that. That's one of the places I volunteer. So I would have seen you. I volunteered at Mosquito Brook on that day, but that was a chilly day. You had the coldest day of the week to ski.
Yes, I know. In fact, it was predicted to be even colder, but
Yeah.
I put on face tape and I sent a picture to my wife, and sent back, said, "Wow, does everyone look like that?" And I said, "Well, more or less."
Yeah.
But it wasn't quite as cold. I mean, it was -5. It wasn't too windy, which was good,
Right.
and it
That
was
was part of
sunny.
it.
It didn't warm up, but I was lucky. I dressed just right. I
Yeah.
never felt cold, never warm. So it was slow. It was a hard
Yeah,
day.
for sure. Yeah, and that's what experience will get for you is you know how to dress and you're prepared in all the different ways you are for that cold, and you just kind of set your sights on a slower day because of that sharp crystal snow.
Right, right.
Yeah. So, is there anything else that you want to, or anything any advice or anything else you want to share about the Birkie experience to people that are listening and aspiring birch leggers?
I think you have to train well. One thing you don't want to do at all these endurance events is halfway through say to yourself, "Well, why am I doing this?" So I'd like to get into sufficient shape that those words never cross my mind.
There you go.
So I think you certainly want to. You can't be a couch potato and expect to ski the Birkie. You have to have trained appropriately, and then eventually, as you get into it more and more, you get a plan as to how to do this. Well, so-called properly. You have to train in hills. You do a lot of hills. You got to do a lot of long, slow distance. You got to be able to do intervals because you can't just ski slowly all the time, or you just get slower. I mean, I think the other thing I'd emphasize is that technique is so important. I actually now am a PSIA instructor, level one, a Nordic instructor. I teach for Yuri Gusev at CXC in Madison.
Okay.
And I see it's so important that when people do improve their technique, the times come down, they're more efficient, they use up much energy, use much less energy. So
Yeah.
technique is so important. I mean, a couple of other tips that I thought about when you asked this question was, I don't know, I think it's a mixed blessing having the markers a distance at the side of the trail because you almost don't want to know only 33 Ks to go, only 43 Ks to go. So the way I look in this now is I either don't look at the marker or you get to maybe, I don't know, 10 or 12 Ks. When I get to 10K, I say, well, I've only got 9.9 Ks to go.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's
Because
1K less.
yeah.
So that's what the one way of looking at. John Cotar, I remembered saying years ago, don't think that this so-called second half of the race, no, it's more than that, from double low down is all downhill. There are a lot of hills, and you've already climbed a lot of hills. So you have to keep in mind that there are, many more hills and then two big hills at the end.
Yeah.
So pacing is really, really important. And then I think the other thing that I think is really helpful is to do a race or two before the race.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I think that's great is that the Birkie Tour and Ned Zolsdorf idea, the Birkie Tour is a wonderful day. You can learn about the course. The course is groomed that day. There's feed stations. And with any luck, you'll get a good day and good snow. a wonderful day out. You can ski whatever distance you want. And the pre-Birkie, I think, is really a helpful race. It's just a good distance, good time before the race itself, to taper after that. And you can ski a long distance there. You can ski, almost the whole race.
You can do the 42, yeah.
Yeah, get an idea of what it is to ski long distances. So,
oh, good. Those are all excellent things to think about for new skiers, and also for people that are, there's a lot of folks, like you said, your son's at 15, and sometimes people need the incentive to kind of keep going to get that purple bib, and yeah, so it just keeps on going. Are you signed up for next year?
oh yeah, yeah. It's kind of an automatic thing. I think as Scott Cooper said, it's like your birthday. I actually could add one thing
Yeah,
that
please.
crossed my mind is that, having my children do it is sort of no longer, they're adults, but it's so gratifying to do that. But I have to say that while I sort of taught them initially, it was my wife's endurance of trekking round the base loop at Winter Park in Monaco with them, going very slow, that got them involved. So she gets the maybe a lion's share of the credit for getting them into skiing.
No, that's excellent. Yeah, with Scott's comment. In fact, I've quoted Scott's comment many times. He said in his episode with me that the Birkie is like a birthday and a checkup all in one.
Yes.
And I think that's just a perfect way to think about it. And
Right.
I quote Scott all the time on that. Well, gosh, Ian, thank you so much for your time today. I love the stories. I've seen your name, like I said, many times on those start sheets and finish sheets, and didn't know you, and so I'm very pleased to have met you, and I'm sure our listeners are pleased to kind of learn more about you, and I look forward to seeing you on the trails this next year, and maybe even hand you a drink at Mosquito Brook for the open track.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm delighted to have had this conversation. I think it's a wonderful idea, hearing different people's stories and tales of the race and their motivation to get involved in this amazing, wonderful event.
Exactly. Okay. Well, thanks again, Ian. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks again. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Please check out the podcast notes to see links to the Birch Leggings Club and the Birkie website. If you've skied a combination of 20 Birkies and or Cordies, I encourage you to join the Birch Leggings Club. If you'd like to tell your Birkie story, please contact me, John Peterson, at my email listed in the podcast notes, or by filling out the guest application form linked there. Please subscribe to our program wherever you get your podcasts and leave a review. You can also text us directly from your phone or computer using the quick link in the notes to let us know how we are doing.